Hey everybody, before the episode gets started, I just wanted to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and just if you don't celebrate Christmas, just happy holidays, and spend time with your family and loved ones, and hope everyone has a great holiday. This episode we're going to be talking about Silent Night, Deadly Night 4 Initiation, and I was talking to one of my buddies on Instagram, and he has a podcast, and they covered Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, and I told him, well, maybe I'll cover Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 4. So that's what I'm doing. Go check out Matt and his friend Tristan. They have a podcast called Funbox Monster Podcast, and I think they're on most of the podcast platforms, but they're a couple cool dudes, and I listen to them all the time. I think they're great. They're hilarious. So go check out their podcast, and if you want to hear their take on Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, and they got a few Christmas ones out there too that's pretty good. So go check them out. And without further ado, let's get to the episode.
You're listening to the Rude Horror Podcast with your host, Marcus Rude.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Marcus Rude, aka Rude Horror, and you're listening to the Rude Horror Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about a Christmas movie, ? I mean, I guess it's got a little bit of Christmas in it, but we're going to be talking about Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, Initiation. This movie was directed by Brian Yuzna. You might know him as a special effects guru and film director. He's done movies. He's directed movies such as Society, Bride of Reanimator, Return of the Living Dead 3, Beyond Reanimator, Necronomicon, The Dentist, and Silent Night, Deadly Night 4. And he's done other ones too, like The Dentist 2, Rottweiler. I mean, some of his other ones are not as known as some of the ones I just named off. But this guy's great, man. I love his work, and didn't know what to expect with this one, but I sort of blew my mind earlier thinking about this movie. And I don't know if I wanted to talk about this first, but since I have it on my mind, if you haven't seen Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, there's going to be some spoilers, but so you might want to turn it off now and check it out. But if you've seen Society in Deadly Night, or Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, you'll see that, I mean, this is just my opinion, like, I don't know what anybody else thinks about this matter, but I almost feel like Silent Night, Deadly Night 4 fits better in a Society universe. Like, this movie feels like it could either be a prequel to Society or a sequel to Society. To me, it would make more sense for it to be in the same realm as Society, because, like Society, this movie does not make sense at all. It constantly has you wondering what the fuck is going on, and it just, I don't know, man. It really has the same feel as Society. I mean, when they bring and how do I even explain it? Like the worm-looking thing in Silent Night, Deadly Night 4. Maybe you could tie that in with how everyone was always fascinated with worms in Society, and a lot of fan theories think that maybe they are worms or slugs, or maybe there's an alien from somewhere. But maybe it's tying in. Something is tying in those two movies. It just I can't grasp it quite. But so the similarities would be like the worms and when let's see how to explain this. I mean, because I'm kind of jumping all over the place, so I apologize. But the lady, our main girl, what's her name? Kim. When she gets the worm put in her, it's almost like she's hallucinating, but apparently she's not really hallucinating. But everyone around here is making her feel like she's hallucinating. But when she's in one of those hallucination, quote unquote dream states, she actually turns into something that's very similar to the society creatures. Like her legs start forming together, her fingers start kind of molding together. Like it really felt like I was watching maybe some sort of like deleted scenes or something. I mean, not quite, but it really did feel like maybe they both can kind of share the same universe. Just and that could just be Brian Yuzna's special effects. Just his work. I mean that could just be how his little trademark work. I mean, I don't know what to say about the wordage right there, but it really, I don't know. It really does feel like maybe they could share the same universe. I know I'm repeating myself, but maybe that's just his style of movie making. I don't know. I mean, that could be too, but I don't know if any of you guys have any more input on some kind of like fan theory of connecting society to Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, let me know, because I'd love to hear more about if there really is something there. And I mean, I'm not really familiar if maybe Yuzna's said something in an interview somewhere, if that there's some sort of connection there. I don't know, but I would really like to find out. I don't know why I want to find out, but it's kind of piqued my interest as far as, it would be really cool to see. I mean, I don't know. I think it would make the ratings that I put for this movie a lot higher than what I put for it. On Letterboxd, I gave it a 2 out of 5. Now, if for some reason it's connected to society somehow, maybe I'll rate it like a 3 or something. I don't know, just because I feel like it fits better with society than it does Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, or the Silent Night, Deadly Night series. And like a lot of people say, they kind of took the Halloween 3 aspect for this movie to where it completely has nothing to do with the other movies. You could almost put this as a standalone movie. I don't know how well it ties in with Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, but I don't know. It really has me thinking that maybe Yuzna was doing a standalone movie, and then or maybe it was a sequel or prequel to Society, and it wasn't getting the right funds it needs or something. And so they said, well, let's add some Christmas elements, or maybe there's already some Christmas elements in his movie, and let's just say, let's slap on Deadly Night, or Silent Night, Deadly Night. That's a tongue twister. Let's just throw the title on it, and that'll rake in more people to watch. I mean, that could be maybe. I don't know. I mean, this is just my opinion. But it definitely would make more sense if they put the Silent Night, Deadly Night name on this movie as a stamp to bring in some revenue. So that's my 2 cents on that little theory. But anyways, this movie was titled Bugs in the UK. It was released under the name Bugs, which that would even make more sense than SNDN4. But, the music was composed by Richard Band. You might know his work in a lot of the Full Moon movies, in like Reanimator, Puppet Master. The list can just go on. I'm not gonna name them all off, but yeah. So the music really almost feels kind of like a Full Moon movie in a way, or Reanimator. I mean, however you want to depict it, but yeah, no, the music was fine. I dug it. I like some good old fashioned Full Moon's music. And this movie is on Vudu right now for free. So if you don't have a copy of this, go check out Vudu. And if you're not familiar, Vudu now shows free movies. I'm sure they have ads in it, but I mean, there may be like 30-second clips, and then you're back to the movie. So it's definitely a useful tool if you want to check out some movie. I don't know if Silent Night, Deadly Night 5 is on there. I'll have to look. But I know the first one is on there. And then if you go to Tubi TV, I think they have Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 on there. I don't know about I'm not sure about the third one, but that's another one to check out as Tubi, because they got a lot of free movies and a lot of like Shout Factory releases and Troma and Full Moon. It's a great app to use if you have a smart device. But I don't know if I'm repeating myself, but yeah, Vudu gave it a 2.8 out of 5. That's just from the Vudu users gave it that movie. So I would say this is probably a fair rating. This movie stars Clint Howard, and I was thinking about this earlier. I want to know, can anybody tell me a bad movie that Clint Howard has acted in? Like, just like I mean, it could be a bad movie, but like his acting skills. Like, if someone can name me a bad movie, or I mean, a movie that he acted bad in, let me know. Because as far as acting goes, I thought he did a really good job in this movie. And just portraying like this derelict guy that it seems like he lives on top of this used bookstore. But I mean, as far as like as far out as this movie is, and all the crazy shit that is happening in this movie, I thought his character was pretty good. They couldn't have picked a better person to play what he played. But Clint Howard has played in lots of great B-movie type stuff, like Ice Cream Man, Ticks, which, that's another Brian Yuzna movie I love, is Ticks. Might have to do an episode on that one of these days. That movie, I don't know, I always like creature feature kind of stuff. And Bugs are up Yuzna's alley, and I think he does a pretty good job with that kind of stuff. He's also been in Evil Speak, Leprechaun 2, Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, which I have yet to see it, so I'll have to see if they're doing like flashback clips of him or what. He's done like Carnosaur. He's done a lot of Rob Zombie movies. Then we go to Kim, played by Neith Hunter. I think that's her name. And to me, she kind of looks like a Virginia Madsen ripoff from Candyman. But even though this came out before Candyman, so I can't really call her a ripoff. But her character she looks pretty much, I don't know, she just reminds me a lot of Virginia Madsen from the Candyman era. But she's been in other movies too, like Near Dark, Fright Night Part 2, Silent Night, Deadly Night 5. So that piques my interest if Clint and her come back in 5. So I'm going to have to definitely watch it soon. Anyways, and then she was also in Carnosaur 2. And then we moved to... What's this guy's name? And then Hank is played by Tommy Hinckley. And Tommy Hinckley has played in not a lot of movies, but he's been in like Watchers 2, The Terror Within, and nothing really worth mentioning. And then we got Alice Beasley, and I don't know, the whole time seeing her in the scenes, she reminded me of like Alanis Morissette, like crackhead Alanis Morissette. But she's also been in like Tommy Knockers and Rumpelstiltskin, and I didn't really know her name, but she did look familiar, so I'm like, okay, I think I've seen her in Tommy Knockers. That's where I think where I've seen the familiarity there. And then we got Regis. God damn, I can't even talk. Sorry. Then we got Reggie Bannister from the Phantasm series, Wishmaster, Bubba Hotep. He played Eli, and Eli was the the magazine like director guy. Like he was like the head honcho boss guy. And yeah, so he's in it for a little bit. He does a fine job in this movie. There's nothing really bad that he could have done. I mean, his parts were pretty slim, but I mean, I guess he did what he was supposed to be doing. So yeah, this video was a straight to video release. I mean, I could see why, and it didn't get a DVD release till later on, like 2009, and it was like in a 3-pack with Better Watch Out and then Silent Night, Deadly Night 5. And anyways, I guess we can get into the movie a little bit more. But yeah, so Kim works. She's an aspiring journalist. She works at in LA, like a newspaper, I guess, like newspaper magazine type deal. I guess it's a newspaper. I was thinking it was like I don't know why I was thinking it was like kind of like a magazine kind of thing, but I guess it's a newspaper. And her boss kind of seems like he's giving the guys all the leads and the breaks and whatnot, and doing stories and stuff like that. And oh my gosh, I can't even remember all the one-liners they were doing, but some of them were really terrible. There's a lot of terrible one-liners, one after another. And so you get some like office kind of conversations and whatnot, and then we get to a scene where a woman is discovered dead on the sidewalk, and she's half burnt to ashes from like the feet up, and it's apparently caused by spontaneous human combustion, but it's still kind of mysterious. They don't know exactly what's going on. And Kim decides to pursue the story on her own without her boss's approval. And so while she's investigating, she goes to the bookstore where the woman had jumped off the building, and because she was on fire, and I guess she. I mean, it plays out like maybe she committed suicide because of she was on fire or something, but she ends up like falling off this used bookstore. It's like I don't know, 3 stories or so. I don't know how tall it is, but I mean it's a pretty tall building to where she ended up dying from falling, obviously. And she's at the bookstore trying to get some research on spontaneous human combustion, and she runs into the bookstore keeper. I don't know what her title is, but we later find out her name is FEMA, and she, I guess, runs the bookstore or something. She works there, and she talks to her about, that she's looking for a book about spontaneous human combustion, and then they just have a conversation of, so you're doing research on the lady, the girl who died and whatnot, and then she later kind of talks or kind of offers her like a book, like and how this whole movie is like they make things really awkward. I think, I don't know, because this out of nowhere she's like, oh, I'm gonna offer you this book, just take it, it's on the house, and Kim's trying to refuse it, and FEMA really wants her to have the book, and it's a book on feminism and the occult. And so she ends up taking it, and FEMA offers her to go out to a picnic with her and her friends, and so I'm guessing Kim goes along with it. And then later, Kim is with Hank, which is Hank and Kim are boyfriends. I don't know if boyfriend, girlfriend. I don't know if I clarified that earlier. And Hank works at the not bookstore. Oh my gosh. At the newspaper place, and so on Christmas Eve, I guess this is where the Christmas stuff ties in, because on Christmas Eve, Kim goes to Hank's family's Christmas party or get together or whatever, and the dad is a fucking asshole, and he's always ripping on Kim about being Jewish, and Hank's just kind of like, oh, cut it out, Dad, and later they go back to her apartment, and Kim begins reading that book that FEMA gave her. And then she finds a chapter on the fire of Lilith, and it's depicting a woman engulfing in flames. And so she's reading about that, and come to find out, Lilith is FEMA's daughter. And so this is where the occult is actually happening in a way. Like, I mean, as in that real thing that we find out later that FEMA is the head of this occult, and they want to initiate Kim in this ritual. So this is the whole premise of why they're wanting Kim to read this book and come back to their picnic, or to go on this picnic with them that they're having, and then this is where she meets another character, Catherine Harrison, and she's a self-described old crone, I guess you would say, just like an old bitter lady, and then another young lady, and then they tell her about Lilith and Adam's first wife and the spirit of all that crawls. And when I talk about the spirit of all that crawls, that would be what we would find out later is like this worm-looking creature, and it's pretty gross. The special effects in this movie, I think, is really what holds this movie together. If it didn't have the special effects it did, I think this movie would have gotten rated really low, because the special effects is why I gave it a 2. I think I would have probably gave it like a half a star or 1 if it wasn't for the special effects. But anyways, at the eye, Eli, so the eye is the newspaper company place, like that's what it's called, is the eye, and that's where her boss is there, and she's angry that Kim is missing work, and then ironically or oddly, he lets her have the spontaneous combustion story, And that afternoon, Kim decides to visit Fima's apartment to ask her more questions about what's going on. And Fima serves her some tea, which makes Kim nauseated. And this is where she kind of goes into like a dream state, but apparently it's not really a dream, it's reality, but Kim thinks it's a dream. And while she's going into this odd state of mind, Fima tells Kim about her daughter Lilith. And then we find, let's see, I don't know, should I say this now? But then Fima offers her a date, which is the food a date, and demands that Kim eats it. And when she does go to eat it, instead of a date, we see like a roach in her hand, and she still eats it, and then Kim passes out. But I was going to say, I don't know if I want to say this now, but we find out later that Lilith, Fima's daughter Lilith, ends up being the girl that jumped off the building with this spontaneous combustion. But when she goes into the state of mind, she this is like where her body contorts and like she's turning into this worm looking kind of thing. But it just reminds me of society so much. And like her feet and legs start molding together, kind of like a mermaid, but it's all just like skin and flesh, and just they're like molding together. And her hands, she has her hands together, and they kind of mold together, but then her fingers are bending the opposite way of what they're supposed to be bending. And it's it's really cool watching. Like I thought it was really interesting watching that. Knowing that it's a movie, but I mean, if it was real, that would be some freaky ass shit. But then she wakes up and she's surrounded by the ladies in Fima's occult, like Jay and Catherine and Lee. They perform they kind of surround her and succumb her, and they perform a ritual on her. And Ricky. Not the same Ricky from the previous movies, but Clint Howard is Ricky in this movie, and he plays a part. And he really looks like a derelict kind of guy, but he's kind of working for Fima. He's all in on this occult, and oh my gosh, I hate jumping back and forth. I'm sorry. But earlier, when Kim was doing research, she ended up on top of the roof where she had died, and Lilith had died, and Ricky's up there, and he's like creeping her out and stuff. And then he pulls out like the worm thing that I was talking about, like the spirit of all that crawls. That thing, like it's like a big giant worm, and they use this worm in the ritual and stuff like that. It was just kind of like a creepy scene. I don't know. It was kind of a laugh moment too. This of how ridiculous this is. But anyways, they perform the ritual on Kim. And Ricky and Fima slice open a live rat over her, and just the rat blood is just pouring all over Kim. And then they insert the giant larva worm into Kim's vagina. And then it emerges from her mouth as like a full-grown, like big-ass cockroach. And it's pretty fucking nasty, but really cool effects. It's really cool. But it is fucking nasty. And then she vomits it out, and that was just kind of, and it's all slimy and shit, and it was gross. But then Ricky slices the creature in half, and the creature starts dripping out its innards all over Kim's face, and it's all just fucking disgusting, dude. And then all of a sudden Kim wakes up later fully dressed, and she's still in FEMA's apartment. But then all the ladies are like, oh, kind of, Kim's just kind of like freaking, and it's like, oh, it's just, all the ladies are like, oh, it's just a dream and stuff like that. And then Kim wasn't having it. She just fucking got the hell out of there. Then she rushes home. She's terrified, and she finds Hank there, and Hank's dead asleep, and she's fucking freaking out. She's like going through the medicine cabinets, trying to eat all these pills, like almost like she's trying to kill herself. She's breaking mirrors, all sorts of shit, and he ends up calming her down. And I don't know, for a minute I thought maybe like FEMA, or like if it was like the occult was taking over her, or if like the worm was still inside her or something, because she kind of turns into like all lovey on Hank, because for a minute she was going psycho, and you didn't know if she was going to kill him or what. I mean, she was just going psycho, but then all of a sudden she gets all lovey on him, and wants Hank to pretend he's sleeping, and then she wants to have sex with him, and all kinds of freaky shit. But then Ricky enters the apartment and just casually is just sitting on the bed while they're having sex, and he turns on TV and he's watching TV, and then out of nowhere Hank's just like, what the fuck, like, get the fuck out of here, who are you, and shit like that. And it was a pretty hilarious comedy relief. That's a great moment. I'm gonna have to wrap this up right now because I have to go somewhere, but this next recording I'll finish up the next part of the story. But I'm gonna put it all together, and I might even cut this part out, I don't know, but I'll wrap it up right now. And so Hank jumps out of bed and is just like, what the fuck? He's freaking out that Ricky's there, or just, some stranger to him. And Ricky's just kind of like in sort of attack mode, and is going after Hank and Kim, but mainly after Hank, because Hank's trying to hurt him, because, he's a stranger. He's breaking and entering in her house or apartment. So he is trying to find stuff to defend himself. Ricky gets a hold of a knife and stabs him in the legs a couple times, and they're kind of going at it for a little while, and while Kim's trying to escape as well, but then the phone rings, and it's her friend Janice on the line, and she gets there in time to answer the phone, and tells Janice to go call for help, and or to come help them or whatever, because it ends up showing up. But before then, Ricky stabs the shit out of Hank, and Hank is dead. It's a little bloody mess, and so Hank's there dead on the floor, and Kim is trying to hide underneath the bed, and Ricky knows that she's there, and he ends up binding up Kim to a chair, and then Janice comes, and you think maybe Janice is going to be freaked out like any friend would, but she's all calm about it, and she's telling Ricky that they, he's made a mess, and tells Ricky to take Kim straight to FEMA. So from there you can tell that Janice is in on the cult, and from that moment on, because there's no sign of that beforehand. But yeah, so then it ends up they take her to FEMA, and they actually, Ricky locks up Kim in a meat locker that's at a meat shop right next door to the bookstore. So that's where they're gonna do a little cult initiation again. And yeah, so Kim ends up passing out there again, and then she kind of has another one of those weird dream scenarios, and then she awakens and she's surrounded by the cult, and Ricky is wearing like I guess like a penis mask. I mean, it's like a shitty version of Chris from Slipknot's mask. Like, it's just, his nose is the penis looking shape, and it's really shitty looking, but he's sort of naked, and I guess, I mean, it's a really shitty scene, but he ends up raping her, I guess is what he's doing, but it's just like some silly humping kind of like, it's a movie, it's not like he's really doing it, but it was kind of funny because it's like, oh my gosh, like, that is the shittiest looking like quote unquote sex scene. And then all of a sudden Kim just reawakens alone in the meat locker, and her fingers are all bounded together into like a knot, like her hands are interlocked together, but they're like this is like where that society stuff comes into, is like her fingers are actually formed, like melted together, and she experiences some great pain because of it, and like her legs are bound together into like a insect like tail, and it really resembles the worm that's in this movie, and like how when you see this movie you'll know what I'm talking about. This like creepy looking worm thing that is like formed inside of them, kind of like it's like some kind of like cult baby kind of thing. I don't know how to explain it. And she passes out again. Like, it's just, she's just kind of like in and out. Like, she don't know what's real, what's not. And I mean, it mostly, I'm assuming, has to do with what's going on with the cult. These seances that are putting her in and out. And then she wakes up in the meat locker as Joe opens the door, and Joe is I believe he was the meat shop owner guy, and he opens up the door, he frees her, and freezes her leg, and it's like she was like in like some kind of like cocoon like substance, like where her legs were, and then he covers her the best that he can because she's butt naked, and just kind of throws some like just some clothing over her, and Joe tells her that she's been initiated and that she has to go. So this isn't like the first time, apparently, that he knows about some kind of initiating cult seance that goes on at his meat shop. So that part is really unclear, like, as far as like his involvement in it. I mean, because he has to know about it a little bit for him to just know that, oh, you've been initiated, you got to get out of here. It's like he doesn't want anything to do with it, but he knows what's going on there. I don't know. That part is really unclear. But then she leaves, and Kim brings a policeman to her apartment to to show him that Hank's body's there and all this stuff is broken, and she takes him back to the apartment to show him, and everything is like spick and span, like everything is just cleaned up. She pretty much sounds like a crazy person to the cop, because he's like, well, his body was right here. The broken glass in the bathroom. Go look at the broken glass. I know there's broken glass. They go there. Nothing. I mean, everything is fine. Nothing's broke. And the cop just kind of blows her off as like a loony or something. And so nothing ends up happening. They can't find Hank's body or anything. And so later on, she goes to her office's Christmas party. And Eli, their boss, claims that Hank is away on an assignment. And Janice is there and welcomes her to the family. As far as like, you've been initiated, so welcome to the family. So everything is acting surreal for Kim, because everyone is going about their business like, oh, Hank's away from the office, there's nothing wrong. And then Janice kind of comes up to her and welcomes her to the family, and Kim's not taking it lightly. She storms out. She's confused, and she storms out of there and walks outside. She notices Ricky is outside of there, like, I don't know, a block away or so, just sitting next to his car, waiting, and then ends up following Kim, and just to make sure that she wasn't doing anything stupid. And so he's chasing her. She knows that he's chasing her, and all of a sudden her feet begin to get really hot, and it starts looking like what's her name? Lilith's legs. The lady that committed suicide and was lit on fire by spontaneous combustion. Well, she's starting to get the same thing happening, to where her feet are starting to burst into tiny little flames. Her feet are starting to look like charred, sort of like how the other girls were. She jumps in the shower and is trying to put out the fire, and it's not happening. Ricky, and he tells Kim that the only way to stop it is to listen to FEMA, and it's unbearably painful to Kim, so she agrees to go along with it. And what they needed to do was kidnap Hank's teenage brother Lonnie to complete the initiation. They have to sacrifice him, basically, is what it comes down to. And so Kim lures Lonnie, the little brother, out of the house. Ricky ends up going in the house as well, but kills Hank's parents, and he strangles them with Christmas lights, and then he sets the house on fire, and then they escape. And then we finally get towards the end, where they're back onto the bookshelf, not bookshelf, but the bookstore's roof, and Kim is asked to stab Lonnie. She, as much as she has to do it, she couldn't bring herself to do it. So she ends up stabbing FEMA, and FEMA's pissed about it, because that's not how it was supposed to go. She pulls out the knife and then stabs Ricky, and then a giant larva is feeding on Ricky, and he ends up not making it as what it looks like. But then Kim's legs begin to get hot. They're going to be catching on fire and whatnot. And then Kim's hands knot themselves together. It's almost like she's forming into the worm lava kind of thing. I don't know. But so it starts bursting into flames. Then Kim stabs her fused hands into FEMA's wound, and supposedly that moves the curse into FEMA, and then it transfers into FEMA, and FEMA dives off the roof and dies just the same way her daughter had died, and that seems to be the end of the movie. Now, in Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, I haven't really watched the whole thing yet, but apparently Clint Howard and Neith Hunter are back in the fifth one, and I don't know if they're playing the same characters or not. I no idea, so makes me wonder if they're back in the fifth one. I don't think maybe Ricky dies because, maybe once that curse got passed to FEMA, that, his part of the deal must have went away too. I mean, this is just all speculation, but that's just how it because otherwise, I don't know, unless they're going to do a completely Halloween 3 on the fifth one too, and has nothing to do with the sequels, or if this is sort of a direct sequel from the fourth one. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I'll have to watch the fifth one, but that's gonna be the end of the episode. Thanks for listening, and hopefully everybody has a great holiday weekend and Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and just drive safe out there. And if you'd like to hear more of the Rude Horror Podcast, you can find us at Rude Horror Podcast on Instagram, and we're on most of the podcast platforms. Otherwise, you can go to our direct home site, I guess I would say. It's anchor.fm/Rude Horror Podcast, and that's where, if you go there, you can send me even video messages. If you have any questions or any feedback on the podcast, you can do so there. And then it'll also give you links on how to listen to us on Spotify and Google Podcasts, Stitcher, I think. But if you're listening to, we're not on iTunes quite yet, but we're on most of the other ones. And so if you want to hit us up on Instagram, or just send us some messages on the Anchor app, you can. But that's about it. We're going to wrap this up. And the next episode is it's going to be, I think I'm going to release it on Christmas Day. I was trying to release it today, but I have been so busy with the holidays. I thought I was going to be able to wrap this up a lot sooner than Christmas Eve, but it's going to have to drop Christmas Eve. But tomorrow I'm going to be releasing the Jimmy Dempster episode, where I talk to film actor Jimmy Dempster and talk about some of his upcoming releases, his new short film, and just some other stuff. So go check that out as well. It was a fun episode to do. And we will see you or hear from you guys next time, or whatever. Later, guys.
Hey guys, just want to thank you all so much for listening to our podcast. You can email us ideas to talk about, or just general feedback, at rudehorror@gmail.com, or direct message us at Rude Horror Podcast on Instagram. Thank you.
You have been listening to the Rude Horror Podcast. If you like this content and would like to hear future episodes,